Restricted airspace. Broadcasting from a secret location. A location the government insists does not exist. You're about to enter Restricted Airspace. With your host, Tina Marie. The unusual, the unexplained, the forbidden, conspiracies, the things you're not supposed to talk about. We do. This is Restricted Airspace. Now, your host, Tina Marie.
We've locked the doors, turned on the red light, and unleashed all 50,000 blistering watts of power across the Vegas night sky. A big welcome to all my friends and fans of the paranormal tuning in to KDWN 720 AM here in the Las Vegas Valley, across the pond in the UK, as well as worldwide. I am your host, Tina Marie, and this is Restricted Airspace, the show that pushes the boundaries to discover the hidden truth. So sit back, open your minds and hearts, and remember, question everything, trust no one. We have a lot to talk about tonight, but before we jump into the show with my special guest, I want to throw it over to Major George Filler from the National UFO Center. George will be hosting our weekly news segment at the top of the bottom of the hour. So for the latest UFO Traffic Report, here is Major George Filer.
Hi, this is George Filer. I'm the regional director for the Mutual UFO Network. And we have 350 UFOs reported each week. And while I was in the Air Force, I used to chase them. And interestingly, we have some reports over Nevada this last week. On Tuesday, October 15th in Rachel, the witness was driving south to Mesquite on Highway 318. He noticed objects as the sun was setting on the horizon. He thought they were jets, but they hovered, and he watched them until the sun finally set. He says what got their attention was that most of these objects were actually three orbs, and they were lights or orbs that were in a perfect row, staying stationary. Then on October 20th at 2 a.m., a witness in Las Vegas reports that he took a video of a star or a diamond-shaped object that flew and maneuvered in the sky over Las Vegas. Also reported was in New Mexico, there was a cylinder that was taken by a video on Saturday, October 19th in Santa Fe. The witness reports that he was getting out of his car when he looked up in the sky and saw a cylinder-shaped object. It was very bright and almost not moving, and it got smaller, then larger, and was kind of morphing into a cloud. Came back flying in a circle, and it was rotating and would have red and orange lights on it. The neighbor was walking her dog, and she got her binoculars, and her husband also came later, and they were all watching this cylinder craft flying around Santa Fe.
Israfel, Ilfiel, Iao. Know all, cover all, shield all, protect all with your love.
Halloween is just around the corner, and sounds like these will permeate throughout the night. Children will hide in fear for their lives as stories of satanic rituals, ghosts, goblins, and witches float across the burning fire. The local commons will be out in force, their pagan chants hidden deep within the forbidden forest, and blood will spill from the virgin sacrifices, thus granting another year of prosperity for the House of Satan. Okay, really? This is what Hollywood wants you to believe, for fear sells. But the truth? Not so much. I grew up near Salem, Massachusetts, had friends who were Wiccans, and the folklore of paganism was part of the Halloween mystique. It wasn't distorted, it wasn't evil, and they didn't sacrifice virgins. But they did celebrate, and what they celebrate was Mother Earth, the air, fire, water, earth, and spirit or self. Tonight, my special guest is Bob Gratrix. He's a notable ritualist organizer and facilitator of gatherings in and around the Las Vegas Valley. He gives voices to a bold and unique way of articulating an original perspective within shared exploration into the mysteries of paganism. His extensive dedication and selfless work, which he gives freely as a loving sacrifice, has helped to create a local community of free expression and sharing that has served as inspirations for others. Some of his goddess art, such as goddess and moon images, crafted in wrought iron, surround the central fire within the Sekhmet Temple of Spirituality in Cactus Springs, Nevada. Tonight, Bob and I will break down modern-day paganism and dispel the ideology that society has associated with a modern-day pagan. Please welcome my special guest to Restricted Airspace, Bob Gratrix.
Tina, I'm absolutely delighted to be with you here tonight. Thank you for having me as a guest.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that you're able to come in here tonight into the studio. Now, let's get in, because we have a short amount of time here, and I really want to, let the listeners understand what paganism is. So let's start with basically the mythology. Let's go all the way back and kind of talk everybody through how it came from the Druids, because let's face it, this goes well back before any of the major religions.
That's true. I mean, when I look back at the history as I know it, there was a time when people were pretty much connected to the area in which they were born, and through that, they developed different ways of managing to live and to find life, whether they be hunters and then later on turning to agriculture, but they were connected with the earth, with what was there, and it affected the way that they thought, the way that they spoke, the way that they treated one another. They expressed gratitude for the nourishment that was brought forth to them, which would sustain them and keep life going. They were very, very grateful for that. There was no grocery stores for them to check into. They didn't have another agenda. It was this natural experience. We, in my perspective, are part of nature. We come from nature, and we're challenged with a whole different experience today than what they must have had long ago. In that, we are free to travel great distances, and we're not so much connected to food that's grown locally anymore. We are not even connected that much with the weather. Here we are in Las Vegas, this desert, and it gets really hot here. But like most of us are having experiences where we're traveling in an air-conditioned car or working in an air-conditioned office. Somehow or another, we're kind of taking care of ourselves a little bit differently than they must have long ago. I guess what I'm getting at here is that it's this gratitude at what they experienced that arose these ideals of what to give thanks to. And in some cultures, it would be, for example, that they would have gratitude for like what the bear might bring, or what a stalk of wheat might bring, and the mystery of it all. They were living in a mystery, an experience of mystery, and part of it. So religion wasn't something that they did on a Sunday or another day of the week or have certain holy days. It was something that they were experiencing in their day-to-day life because they were connected in a very real way to the earth and nature.
So it kind of goes back to the whole Greek mythology almost, the idea that there were different gods for different things that on this planet. Same as we talked earlier before we came into the show about the Polynesian culture and how they have many different gods. That the idea of one God, if you would want to go it that way, for like the Catholic religion, or even Muhammad or any of those religions, they're all came well after the idea of paganism, and most of these cultures around the world who had the idea that there were many gods, that they were worshiping not a god per se, as much as they were worshiping the earth and the elements of the earth.
That's true. And you know, as I said earlier, this part of this is this mystery. And when you try to put like a face on something that's divine, it's impossible to do. So there's all these many manifestations, both male and female forms, noted for certain attributes or qualities, things that they were able to bring. Of course, in the Greek pantheon, there's this wonderful cast of about a dozen god forms, you know, starting from the story of like Kronos, like eating his young, and then finally being tricked into swallowing a stone, but instead it was Jupiter, you know, who you know fooled him, you know, with this, and wound up replacing Kronos as the main god there. So here we had Zeus presiding over Olympia with his wife Hera, and we had a whole cast of characters such as Mars and Aphrodite and Dionysus and so on and so forth. But each of these forms like had these different attributes. And of course, like Mars was a very Spartan, warlike god. And as a footnote here, in their religious ceremonies, whenever they would give offerings and so on, they began with Mars, funny enough, to honor Mars before they would go further. But we come up with these rich stories of men and gods and goddesses and all these stories which have existed and been brought forward into our times. And the only reason that they survived all these thousands of years is that there is some kind of mythical truth within the seed of these stories which makes sense, and it's worthwhile, and it has some quality about it that shows us some aspect of our humanity or our condition. So all of that's wonderful, and yeah, that there are many of these God forms, and it's just because you can't put a single face on something that keeps changing. The divine keeps changing, and it's part of this mystery that's unfolding like a flower that's blossoming and ever blossoming. And in one moment you could say, oh, it looks like this. And in another moment you can say, oh, it looks like that. And in both observations, you'd be right.
So the stigma that Hollywood has placed, that most people are associated with, when you hear, you know, we are coming up on Halloween, a lot of people are going to be dressing as witches and stuff, but that stigma of paganism and of Hollywood is so further from what is the truth that most people don't understand, because we have been born and bred into automatically thinking a particular thing. So, you know, when you hear the word paganism, it means this. When you hear the word hot, it means this. And society has been brainwashed to think certain things. So is that why maybe like a lot of the Greek mythology and stuff like that doesn't even get taught anymore in school? I mean, are they afraid of, if you want to call it the unknown, are they afraid of that? Or are they just afraid of actually opening up to what the reality is that we are all connected to this earth in some kind of form?
Yes, not only are we connected to the earth in some form, I mean, that's, to me, obvious, but also the roots of what we're experiencing in this Western culture are born out of these concepts that were brought forth out of Greece, for example, and other parts of the world that serve as touchstones for what is the foundation of our society. That's what it's built on. That's our history. That's our story for all of it.
Okay, so let's get into before we get into, because when we come back from the break later on, I want to take everybody through the circle, but before we get into that, try to explain to people how you live your life as a modern day pagan.
Oh, sure. I mean, like getting back, Tina, to just a second to what you're talking about with Hollywood and the sensationalization of a lot of it. I mean, they sort of have to show like a special effect or a Powerball or a Wizard War or something that's really exciting.
So you don't
that.
have a wand. And all that stuff,
Well,
right?
I do have a wand, but it's not quite like that. It's again, there's a mythical truth behind these things, and what the mythical truth is behind Hollywood and the stories that most people might be familiar with about witches or pagans or however you want to pigeonhole or label, this is that it's about power, and at the heart of what we're doing, it's about power not so much over other people. It's about power over our own lives. And you can talk to people everywhere, and everyone feels that that they'd love to see changes come into the world that would more suit their vision of what would be a better way to go about things. And initially, somebody might hear about witchcraft, for example, and say, "Oh, well, that's for me. I'm going to learn some spells. I'm going to pick the right herbs or say the right incantation, and I'm going to, change this like this." But in reality, the process is a little bit different. And what we find is as you get deeper and deeper into this, and your awareness grows, you find that the real power that you have is the power to become the change that you wish to see in the world, to have all the tools that you need to do that, the confidence, the support of a community to become the highest vision of yourself, the freedom for an expression of your heart song, and the company of other people that you can appreciate for what they are, let go of a lot of baggage that just bogs you down and prevents you from going further, tear down walls that separate you from other people and things that you'd really love to experience, lets you open your eyes to see some kind of beauty that's inherent around us, this thing that is life itself, and to really be part of that and feel its embrace and be good enough for it.
And you have a large group out here in Las Vegas, correct?
Well, yeah, our group size, it changes. It's a loose type of thing because all of this is not structured on some kind of a hierarchy where there's foot soldiers and there's all this regimentation. No, people are exploring these pathways into the divine in their own way all over our country. What's happening with modern day paganism is probably the biggest movement, of the last 50, 60 years, is this turning away from some of these established institutions, and people are turning on to what they feel is going to work better for them. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot of people that come, different gatherings. We can have hundreds of people that come, but they're sharing it in a way that's particular to their own vision of what their work is and how they want to see things happen.
And it's not just here, though, either. I mean, you have people coming from all over the world. And now, is it something to do with Vegas? Because we had talked about this before we came on the air, that, I moved out here to Las Vegas. For whatever reason, I made the move. You did, too, from the East Coast out here. Is there some kind of energy or spiritual connection going on out here?
Absolutely. Las Vegas is a fantastic place. All you have to do is look at the Strip. And I don't spend a lot of time on the Strip. Just look at it and you think, here's a manifestation of somebody's imagination put into motion out here. This area, this desert, was, of course, the Native American people here, the Shoshones and Paiutes and so on, that were, this was their land. And these people, incidentally, they were known as the dreamers amongst their tribes. This is a great place to dream. This is a desert, and deserts are associated with fire, and they're also associated with purification. But what's really, really special out here, I think, is that there has not been a lot of people in this area. So you've got what I kind of loosely call a gridwork of consciousness that is the natural world that surrounds this area. It hasn't had a lot of people to work with for a long, long time, and now all of a sudden, like basically in our lifetimes, it's seen this influx of people, and it is able to have a conversation with our consciousness. And with that, we're able to create, people in Las Vegas are able to create things that are born out of their imagination more easily, I think, than they can in other places. And that's one of the fantastic things about it. Also, the light here is just like nowhere else on the planet. There's something very, very special going on here.
Now, what would you think when you say, because Vegas is basically in a bowl, it's surrounded by air. Is that bowl maybe channeling the power of the sun to create a positive energy flow in this area? I mean, is that possible that maybe you have something like that?
Well, I think that like when you mention a bowl that's a feminine term because it's a container. It's that which receives. And yeah, this valley that we live in is sort of like surrounded by mountains in every direction. In a lot of weird ways too. It's sort of like this island because it's, there's not a lot of populations around here. I mean, in terms of people, it's sort of an island. And yes, I believe that there's something special about the mountains right, where it kind of contains a certain kind of energy that allows this freedom of imagination to create all kinds of wonderful things in people's lives.
Now, a lot of people associate the modern day pagan with the whole hippie movement from like the 50s and 60s, this whole free love. But when you really dwell into what paganism is, it's not close to that at all, is it?
Well, in some ways it is. I mean, the hippie movement of the 60s and so on. I mean, like
which I wasn't part of. I wasn't.
Well, it brought actually conceptually brought an awful lot of like really great ideas into the world that had not existed before, and it was like this rising up of just ordinary people with voices that say, hey, we would like to have a society that is a certain way, and it maybe ran counter to the the typical American dream, but there you have it. It was born, and what we have, a lot of us as modern day pagans, is like the hippie movement too had a lot to do with experimentation with all kinds of drugs, with hallucinogenics and sacraments that were from the natural world, which I don't judge any of that. I do not judge any of that. I can tell you that there are an awful lot of people, and most of the people I encounter, they're doing true spiritual work within the pagan community. That's not the cornerstone of it. It's this other thing that's going on. People trying to raise their vibrational level to overcome the things that impede them from being everything that they can be as a human being. So it's not centered on drugs. It's centered on devotion. It's centered on mindfulness, on purpose. It's centered on respect for one another and creating a community. It's centered on reaching towards these energies that exist around us that can help pull us up from the world that mankind has created.
Okay. Well, we're going to be taking our break here in the bottom of the hour shortly. But when we come back, I want you to take our listeners through setting up your circle, setting up your energy there. We'll talk more about the different elements. If you could just briefly tell everybody the different elements that pagans worship.
Yeah, I mean, well, we really honor these elements, and at one time they were thought to be the main components of all creation. But we're talking about the elements of air, fire, water, and earth, and then there's the fifth, the quintessence, which is spirit. Now, there's a way, and you see this across the world with all types of traditional peoples, where they've used a similar model to stand in the center of that, the axis mundi being yourself, wherever you are, and to reach out into these cardinal directions. And each of them has what we call correspondences. Like, for example, the air. It's a medium of quick communication. It's the long view. It's the wind of consciousness, if you would, coming through. You look to the south for fire. It's strength, it's will, it's purification. To the west, that's the realm of water, of emotion, of love.
Okay, I'm going to hold you there because we're going to take our break at the bottom. I want you to come back. We're going to go into this. We're going to talk about the elements. I mean, the time is just flying by right now. So, but when we come back, we're going to have more with Bob Gratrix, and we're going to dispel more of the paganism ideology on KDWN 720 AM. If you have any questions for Bob, call in our hotline at 702-257-KDWN. That's 702-257-5396. Again, 702-257-5396. Or head on over to restrictedairspace.radio.com. Click the green button next to the on-air and join the live chat. Right now, we got to go pay some bills in order to keep the intense security surrounding this undisclosed location. We're going to have a little Water Bliss by Abby Spinner McBride taking us to break.
We will return to Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie after this.
Hi, this is George Filer. I'm the regional director for the Mutual UFO Network. California has 70 sightings a week, and is more sightings from that state than any other. And on September 18th, there was an interesting sighting of multiple craft over the Pacific coast near Aptos. One craft had a blinking light similar to an airplane, and the other was a solid beam of light. She started filming with her camera, which was a Canon 6D, because she had taken some footage the day before. In any case, the two craft turned into several dozen craft for about a minute, and she tried to refocus her camera to get as many as 30 to 40 craft on the video. Obviously, it was difficult to get them all on the film, but we do have some pictures at the nationalufocenter.com that you can look at. Also, we have a report from Colorado that on October 19th, a lady was filming a railroad, a coal train passing in front of the western slopes of the Grand Mesa, and she saw a strange object in the background. And she took 3 quick pictures, and on the first picture of the 3, there's a craft that is a cross between a teardrop and an oval shape, and appears to be black with a smooth surface, kind of a disc-like object. And this is the 6th craft that she's taken in recent months near the Utah border. These are just a few of the 350 sightings we get each week. You can report them to MUFON if you see something yourself at MUFON.com, or look at the National Reporting Center.com, and you'll see the pictures for there to view. And we'll talk to you again next week with the latest sightings.
Now, back into Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie.
I am the spirit around you. I am divinity within you. I am the light shining through you. I am all that I am.
Behold, there is magic all around us. Behold, there
Welcome back to Restricted Airspace. I am Tina Marie. You're listening to Behold off the Fire of Creation CD by Abby Spinner McBride. Links to that song, all songs featured on this and every show are available at my website, restrictedairspace.radio.com. Follow the links on the homepage or fly on over to the archive page, click the links to this show. Do you have a CD or song you might want featured on the show? Maybe you have a new book that details UFOs, ghosts, conspiracies, or the paranormal. Have a conference or event you want featured? Then drop me a line at Tina Marie, restrictedairspace.radio.com, and I will get you listed on my website. All right, we're back on this topic with my special guest, Bob Gratrix. Bob, welcome back.
It's good to be here.
I know you were singing to the song.
That's right. It's singing in my heart, this song. It's funny because, we use this very song at our gatherings with our group. And what we do, just so the listeners will know, is our goal is to connect with nature and these natural cycles. And of course, in the course of a year, we all know that there's the time of the winter solstice, the vernal equinox, the summer solstice, and the autumnal equinox. And then with what we practice, with these 8 points of the wheel of the year, are called the cross-quarter celebration. So there's a total of 8 in the course of the year, and we gather at these times specifically to celebrate and to connect with nature and to really honor it. And so what we'll do is we'll come together at a place, and sometimes there's a lot of us. Sometimes there's, let me put it like this, that there's more than 100. And what we'll do is we'll create a sacred space by which to do this, because we're not working out of a permanent structure with this, and that's by choice and by design, that we don't have a physical building or so on more often than not. We have nature itself is there and available to us. So together we choose to be there, and we give consent to create this space.
So what you're saying is you don't have, in what we call modern society, you don't have a church. Your church is the earth.
That's fair to say. Okay. And she's always there.
And she's always there.
So we'll get together and we'll create the sacred space. And the way that we do that is we will begin by having everybody form a circle. And a circle is pretty democratic place, because everybody has kind of an equal position within it. And myself or another will cast what we call cast the circle, which is to inscribe the perimeters of this space that we're going to do our sacred work in. And for example, once the circle is formed and we decide to cast the circle, one will take the tool, a sacred tool that we'll use to do this with. And with our group, we have a way of doing it whereby we say, I conjure thee, O desert moon circle, both radiant and bright, and trace the boundary between the world of mortals and the realms of shadow and light. Be thou cleansed and prepared from rim to center, where gods invoked may deign to enter. A circle blessed within we stand, all fear and harm from this place be banned. And the person will move about showing where they're drawing the circle and grounding the other side of it, and everyone energetically will be there with them. The next thing we'll do is the purifications within the circle, by which we use these elements we're speaking earlier of. We'll take salt that's been sanctified and water that's been sanctified and say, by salt, which is her body, and water through which all life flows, we purify and consecrate all this circle may hold. Mother, be thou adored. And for the male aspect of it, it's this compound of incense that we'll take with fire, and may the fire and air of creation make sweet the world. Father, be thou adored. And we'll move around the circle, asperging with the water, smudging with the smoke, and it's this act of purification. We'll next join hands, and one of us will lead us in this breath that makes us one, where we become grounded, where we let go of the world that is mundane, that we stepped out of. We stop thinking about our jobs and our grocery list and so on, and we really bring ourselves present into that place, following that. And we actually will synchronize our breath in that movement. And you can really feel it when that energy is there.
I'm feeling the energy.
People are connected.
I haven't even been
connected,
one of these,
yeah.
but I can feel
We're
the energy
connected
right here.
with each other. We're connected with the earth, and we're connected with the stars above. It's exciting, and it's passionate. And then the next thing that will happen in this process is, depending on what work we choose to focus on that night, we'll make an invocation of a goddess or a god by which we name their qualities, and we call them to join us in that circle, and call them to please be present with us and bring all these gifts to us. The part earlier where the circle is cast and after the purification is done, this is one of the most important things here, is it will then move about that circle with a song that you heard a little bit of, and we will open these quarters. Priestesses move together, and one will inscribe a pentagram into the direction of the element that we're opening, and into that quarter, that direction. She will banish the energy in that direction. Say, for example, beginning with the east, we would banish that. The song would end, we'd banish it, and then we'd have a quarter caller who would invoke those qualities of that quarter, which we would have into our circle. For the east, for example, we may say, guardians of the east, spirits of air, by the wand I call thee, morning light and mountain peak, wind dancer, eagle of the golden dawn, send your essence, come, be with us now, so mote it be. And the song will start again, and we'll move together in a procession to the south, and do likewise till we move around to the south, the west, and the north. And each of these directions has correspondences that are related to it. The east with air, south with fire, west with water, and north with the earth. And you can break things down further where you find that those correspondences also go to times of the day, times of the year, certain things that we carry within us as humans. Like, for example, the East is this communication, it's ideas, it's fast-moving things that connect us. Whereas in the South, you're finding that that's a place of like strength of will, healing, purification comes from that. The West, we associate with water, with the realm of the emotional world, which is like still waters run deep. Okay. And from that, love and passion, that type of connection where our hearts are, our emotions, which are very powerful parts of human beings. Many of us don't discover how strong they are until something goes a little bit of kilter, and then they find themselves cast into this world of the emotions. And then we get to the north, where we're honoring the stones, the bones, the ground, everything that supports us. It's the physical world, the physicality of it all, and the completion of that. And then we'll also go to the center and honor spirit, honor the invocation of spirit. And the spirit is that mystical connection between all of us that lets us connect that very special power that we all hold with one another and share it in a loving and caring way. So
this is what I'm saying is people have this misconception of what you guys do, and just hearing this, I mean, if my listeners are listening, you got to call in. I would like to have somebody call in here and tell me what you're feeling when you just heard this on the radio, because I'm sitting across from Bob and I get chills. I mean, I want to go to your group now. I mean, this is what was, what they did so long ago when we didn't have technology, when we didn't have, all this hustle and bustle. We had the earth. That's all we had. They looked up, they saw the stars, they had the oceans around them. That's all they had. So they were able to celebrate life and the earth around them. And for some reason, whether you talk about going through the Industrial Revolution phase, in some ways we have lost ourselves spiritually from all the technology.
Absolutely. I mean, just look around us. I mean, what we find, well, one thing, for example, is we have like a lot of like really, really cool like electronic devices, computers, cell phones and so on and so forth. And I think that all of our listeners would know that, like, being connected, it's the major thing. It's like you have to be connected and be connected electronically. But what we're talking about is a different kind of connection. It's a connection back to these old ways and these things that have been around forever, the very things that make us human and make us being able to share with others the art of being a human being. And it's not anything that comes easy anymore. You have to work at it. You have to be focused and conscious of what you're doing, of what you're creating, of what your energy is. Is it positive? Are you supporting other people with your being?
Now, I want to get into here because it's not just one God, because you have all the elements, you have different gods that you believe. And unlike some of the other religions that basically demoralize the idea of women, the pagan religion actually looks towards women. Would you say that?
Absolutely. Are you kidding? We absolutely revere women of all kinds. I mean, like, we liken the moon itself and its cycles to be like this like glorious demonstration of these three aspects of our idea of women, being that the moon as it waxes and wanes, it goes dark, and when it comes to be with the sign of the D, as it begins its cycle of waxing and growing larger, that we correspond with the maiden, the young woman, that goes with that. And the D actually sort of forms the bow of Diana, the huntress, the virgin, is unto herself. The fullness of the moon is we associate that with the fullness of the mother that's giving birth, of the creation. That's the full moon is. And also, it's a great time for men and women to ask for manifestation of the things that they're invoking in their life, the things that they really want and they've been working to try to get. It's a good time for that push to have it come in.
A lot of people, I mean, even with psychics, whatever stuff, that even do tarot card readings, one of the things they talk about is during the course of the full moon, because of the energy, is to take the tarot cards and bring them out into the moon to recharge them.
Absolutely.
Because of the energy. So
Yeah.
what you're saying then is like, now because the one you just had just a few weeks ago, you had a gathering just a few weeks ago, or last week, was last week?
We had a gathering just last week, and it was fantastic.
And that was to celebrate what?
Well, the celebration that we had last week was dedicated to the ancestors, to the teachers who have gone before, who we benefit from, and we wanted to honor our ancestors because in this chain of life, they are in this other realm of spirit. But we believe too that they are still supportive of our lives and that they are still connected to us, our ancestors. You're not only talking about like people that you've lost or your family, but people you've loved that are lost, to us right now. And we wanted to honor them because that's what people do. That's what people do. And in our modern society, we've have this like kind of like idea of like eternal youth and even to become more mature in your years is something that's not nobody's like celebrating that, and it's sort of this. Our society treats it like some kind of weird embarrassment when it's just the opposite. I mean, these people that have gleaned a lot of life experience and seen a lot of things, we have so much to benefit, and without them participating in our society, there's no way that we can create a healthy system.
Now, your group talks a lot about alchemy. Explain a little bit about that, the definition and how you define that.
Well, a lot of people think of alchemy like in this quest of like turning base metal or lead into gold, and we all know stories about things that were going on in the 17th century and 16th century that were these efforts that were that wound up leading to actually to chemistry. But what I think that most of us are talking about with alchemy is the transformation of your spiritual lead into gold, to become better, to take what you have and change it into something better. It's a system and a way of transforming your own personal lead into gold. And it's based on originally these writings that were of this thing known of the Emerald Tablet that was given by Hermes Trismegistus, which begins, "In truth, without deceit, certain and most veritable, that which is above is like that which is below, and that which is below is like that which is above, to accomplish the miracles of the one thing." And it goes on, and it talks about these different stages of alchemy, and winds up disclosing at the end of this piece that it is a description that's like a universal description of the changing of energy and actually the operations of the sun itself. So it's a very deep thing on one level, but on another level, it's this awareness that you have it within yourself by channeling your own energies to reshape your life into something that is much, much better than it is right now, to become your own highest vision, and to open your heart into a world where you may have felt that it was not accepted or welcomed.
Wow. See that, and again, that's something that when you look back at society, see, people don't associate the modern day pagan with that, and for people to hear this, that you are more of a, when you say spiritual, I mean, you are on a spiritual journey. You are constantly on a spiritual journey, and you're doing it with the earth. There's an energy connection between your spiritual energy, the earth around you, including the energy of people also around you. Now, in today's society, how difficult is that with today's society, as negative as everything is? I mean, everywhere you turn, we're brought up to be a negative, and what we're talking about here is a positive transformation of energy.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of frustration within people. I think that everybody is on a spiritual journey. I think every human being is on a spiritual journey, like at one level or another. And sort of the problem that a lot of us encountered and overcome is that there's an inherent fear within us of the thing that is new or unknown, and that they might have, they may be misconceived about what something is, or judge it before they've looked into it, and just close their mind and their heart to it, and that prevents people from going further in the work that they need to do. And part of that is, I think, because I think that a lot of people live in a very analytical way. They live in their mind about what they think is right, and so on and so forth. And we really advocate following our hearts towards what's right for us, and turn off a lot of the other voices, what you think other people think you should do, and try following your heart a little bit and see where that road takes you.
Okay, now we've only got a few more minutes left here, but is there because I think when people hear the chanting, I mean, yours is, like I said, very positive. If you go listen to Abby's CD, I think it's absolutely fantastic. Go to the website, listen to a lot of the samples. You can go right to the website at restrictedairspace.radio.com. You can hear a bunch of Abby's songs on there. I highly recommend getting the CD just for listening. It's just very relaxing to do. But is there a chant that you guys do as a group when you close the circle? I mean, give me something. We're going to be closing the show here. Give me something that you would do to maybe close the circle, close the energy.
Okay, well, at the very, very end, and again, these are celebrations. They're not, they're celebrations, and they open us. But like what we would do to close it up would be, May the circle be open, yet unbroken. May the Lord and the Lady be ever in your heart. Merry meet and merry part, and merry meet again. Please forgive my singing. I'm not the best with our group.
You're a lot better than I am. That's right. But see, that's what I'm saying is when people, this is why I wanted you on the show, because the misconception of what people have, and I really hope in the hour that people have had a chance to at least listen to you, and I've talked to you for more than that, and the information that we've shared has just been beautiful. But what people have to hopefully get from this is that there is another side of paganism that has been totally overlooked. And that form of paganism is just, it's something that should be cherished. And I think people should maybe do a little bit more research and not be manipulated by Hollywood and all that, and really get into what you guys as a group do out here in Las Vegas. And you're part of and I'll say this, Las Vegas, it's called
our group is the Desert Moon Circle, and there's lots of people that are meeting together in one way or another, and they're celebrating these things and they're practicing these things. I really, I'm not advocating. I don't think that this is right for everybody. I'm not saying that everybody should do this or that. I'm just saying I think that everybody should examine their heart and follow the path that their heart leads them. And if they do that, they're never going to go too far wrong. And about what we're doing, there are people who are professionals. They're teachers. They're in business. They are artists. They're doing all these things. And what we are striving for is not some debauchery or drug use or this type of thing. We're saying, let's create a better world together. We can do this. We can make a better world.
Well, Bob, I want to thank you for coming out here. It's 12 o'clock, now 1 o'clock. But I want to thank you for taking the time to come out here. So I really appreciate you for expanding a little bit on what paganism is. Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure to be with you, Tina. Thank you.
I also want to thank a few other people. Mike McKenzie of MBO Productions for producing all the great pieces for this show. For more information on Mike's company, you can see the links on my website. Thanks to Major George Filler from the National UFO Center for those great UFO traffic reports. And thank you to all my friends at KDWN here. Also, special thanks to producer Clyde. Thank you so much for sticking around. An awesome job. I really appreciate it. And most of all, a big thank you to you, the listeners. Tune in next Friday night at midnight as the crew from the Elite Vegas Paranormal Society, Linda Purdy, David the Priest Purdy, and Brian Doc Purdy join me to talk about haunted ghost tours at Bonnie Springs, next year's Las Vegas Paracon, and all those things that go bump in the night. This is Restricted Airspace. I am your host, Tina Marie, and always remember, question everything, trust no one.
If there's something you want to talk about, something you want to know, something you are afraid to ask, then this is the show for you. Follow us every Friday night at midnight as we enter Restricted Airspace. With Tina Marie. For more information or to contact us, go to restrictedairspace.radio.com. Restricted Airspace.